Okay, this is piece 174. It's a portrait mask from the ballet peoples in the Côte d'Ivoire, which is Ivory Coast on the west side of Africa, which is where we're really finding a lot of our wooden sculptures that we've been discussing. And it has two images. One is of the mask itself, the portrait mask, and then there is a contextual image here that we'll be discussing. So the function of this piece of art is that it suggests an idealized beauty of the women, the ballet people. And it specifically, which is rare, honors this woman right here, who is Moya Yanso. So this mask was made in particular to honor her. Not every woman in this culture got a mask, and so it's special. It's made for specific woman. It's unusual, not that we have this mask as much, but that we have this accounting for who the mask honors. So that we have this photograph taken in 1971 is really quite rare. These masks, although they were made for quite some time by these people, have been in decline since the 1980s. They are making masks, but they're not for specific people, and they are doing celebration dances, but they're not dancing masks that have been created for a specific person. So these are rare. The dances, when they did do them, were danced by a man. So the woman, though, for whom the mask was made would have to be present in order for it to be danced. And when it wasn't being used in a dance, in a celebration, then it was put away, right? You can see from all of our previous pieces that these pieces of art are not just to be admired for their physical beauty, yet instead they have spiritual qualities to them. And so, right, the stool had spiritual qualities. The Nkisi and Kondo had spiritual qualities. And so because of that, these are kept away, put away from everybody's view. They were able to talk with their ancestors. They were able to communicate with spirits. And so it wasn't like they wanted these kind of alive pieces acting on their own. The form of this piece is that it's got subtle asymmetry. So if you look at the eyes on this piece, our piece, right, this eye is just a little bit higher. This triangle is just a little bit lower. The mouth is just a little bit to the left. And so while it is looks pretty symmetrical, there's this teeny tiny asymmetry to it. Most of these, I think all that I have seen, have an oval face to them. Here's another sample here. Oval faces, and then noses that are quite long. It reminds me of Byzantine art, right? Really long noses and small, sometimes open mouth, sometimes closed mouth. Eyes are downcast and they're not really open wide. They are more slits. And we've got scarification. Do you see these scars here, right? And so these are supposed to be portraits. Now, they're not literal exact portraits of a person, but I'm wondering about the scarification. I didn't see that in our contextual image. I got to look more closely. And then our particular piece has this really high gloss patina to it. This is wood and pigment, so it's been super shined to get that. And then on many of these masks, there are pieces that extend above, right? And then some pieces extend below, almost like beards. So the content, these projections that are on top on our piece are made of brass. And so are the triangles. And so when these were super shined up and when they were dancing, especially if it was in the sun or next to firelight, these would have shimmered. And so they would have had an incredible presence, but that really vitality shown by these, very alive pieces of metal would have been a sign of good health. Also in content, those lines next to the nose, which are seen in our piece, but are not necessarily seen in this piece, I can relate to them because these are age lines. So I'm sure they don't mean anything bad by that. And then their hairstyles are realistic. Each of the pieces I've seen has a different kind of hairstyle, and so it seems like the hairstyles are likely true to form. But the features themselves, the features are pretty abstract, stylistic, and so they're not representing the exact form of this person, like other statues we might have seen in other pieces. Okay, so just to kind of summarize here on the content, all these visual characteristics display what is meant to be good, honorable, beautiful person, on the inside in particular of this ballet people society. And then my final thought here, something that we need to discuss in class, but that I want to set out for you to consider, and that is that knowing now the history, the purpose of this mask, you need to know that in 1995 it was sold to somebody in Belgium, a collector, and then in 1997 it sold to a French collector, and then in 1999 it was sold to a guy named, I think it's Kaunin, Kaunin, something similar to that, in as I said, in 1999 in Minneapolis for 197 bucks. 97,000 bucks. So what modern collectors are doing, though, is they're not putting it away in closets. They're not, bringing it out for these actual performances. This would be a performance art piece, by the way. Instead, these are being displayed. This mask has been on display at Yale, the Chicago Art Institute, I think the University of Chicago. So they're being valued for their physical features. They're being valued for their form that we've talked about, the textures, all the color, the patina. And so this physical creation is being honored. And so what do you think about that? Is that a new life for the art? Is that not honoring the art? I'm curious about your thoughts.